The Super Mario Bros. Movie really came at the perfect time. Within the past few months, we've seen the head of Marvel fired, and the CEO of Disney itself step down. And the new CEO, Bob Iger, even said in March that they're going to start prioritizing quality over quantity, so you can take that however you will. And with the larger pushback against American politics and just poor writing in movies as a whole, people are just looking for alternatives. We've seen things like Squid Game and RRR explore non-American perspectives of things like war and oppression, and the current popularity of anime and manga really speaks for itself. However, weirdly, video game adaptations have exploded recently. We've seen things like Sonic the Hedgehog, Detective Pikachu, and The Last of Us receive overwhelmingly positive reviews, so it looks like the top dogs in the film industry are going to have a little bit more competition going forward. Way back in the 2000s, the Super Mario Bros. Movie was something completely unachievable. There was still a ton of negative stigma surrounding video games, and Nintendo had a history of holding onto their IPs super tightly and not really branching out beyond just their video games. But the 2000s weren't much different. I mean, sure, they had Mario 64 and Super Mario Sunshine and a bunch of sports games to work off of, but even if they had gotten somebody like Pixar or DreamWorks to animate the movie, would they have even signed up in the first place? Between their theme parks, Legos, new toys, and collabs, Mario is starting to be taken more seriously as a mainstream icon. And all of this culminated with the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which I saw yesterday. I went in completely blind except for the trailers, I didn't watch any reviews or anything, and I was expecting it to be really good, especially since Shigeru Miyamoto and Nintendo as a whole was really involved in the process. So sit back, grab your $15 question mark popcorn bucket, and let's get into it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was that AMC didn't have any of the popcorn buckets left. I know, I'm a sucker. I wanted to get the $15 bucket, but they didn't have it. Another thing, this particular movie had like a ton of advertisements for just AMC as a whole. I mean, yeah, you had your like Scandinavian woman telling you about the magic of movies and whatever, but there were at least 2 or 3 ads for IMAX, and it's like, does anybody even see IMAX movies? The only time I ever saw an IMAX movie was when I was in Disney World, and there was some kind of like, I think it was like a Canadian history thing about like, oh, Canada and the trees and stuff. I don't know. Martin Short was there too. I also wanted to add that I'm home for Easter and my birthday. My birthday's actually on Easter this year. So sorry for the messy setup and the bad audio and stuff. For some reason, I had the foresight to bring my camera, but not to bring a microphone, so I'm using my phone for audio right now. It's kind of cool. I was gonna wait until I got back to school to film this, but I really didn't want to wait. I want to ride the initial wave of the Mario Brothers movie videos, and also I was just really excited to get into this, so let's get into the good stuff about this movie. First of all, I was kind of expecting this movie to be a little dumb, but it wasn't really dumb at all, except for something small, which I'll talk about later. The dialogue was really, really solid, and the trailers kind of like adjusted the dialogue and made it more like bland and stupid. I really think that was a bad move, and I can imagine that turned off some people, because that made me think the movie was going to be stupid. I'm also really happy that Miyamoto was involved in this movie. He can be really particular and really kind of anal about the games that he puts out, and Nintendo as a whole can be very like perfectionistic about their stuff, so I'm just glad that they brought that same quality to the movie. I just thought the movie as a whole was really intense. You know, the fear and the terror and the stakes were really high, and it was really real and really fleshed out. I felt some real emotion at moments, and I can tell that some of the other people in the theater did. There was this little kid on the right side of me who was just screaming throughout the entire film. And speaking of intensity, I think Bowser was just a real highlight of this movie. He was really like probably the best character in this entire movie. Jack Black did his voice perfectly. They kept the intensity of him and still made him a goofy character. A lot of times in newer movies, you'll see villains that are, you know, supposed to be portrayed as goofy, but they're just not really scary or intense. Bowser kind of was like, he was really scary, and he kept that throughout the movie, and he was also really unpredictable, which is what made the goofy stuff so funny. It kind of makes me worry for the future films, because if they make Bowser like an ally or something down the road, or they don't really include him in the future movies, they're really going to have to do a lot to sort of fill his spot as like an antagonist, or just like a big pillar of a character in the center of the film. I also really enjoyed the Mario versus DK fight. I thought just the DK rap was so cool to see that in there. Donkey Kong 64 really doesn't get a lot of love beyond the diehard fans, so it was cool to see like Nintendo themselves reference that game on the big screen. Like, this is a mainstream thing, and they're putting, you know, the DK rap out there. That's awesome. I really enjoyed the way that they used the power-ups in that fight, and just the power-ups as a whole. The way that they were integrated into the film was really awesome. I do wish the DK fight went on a little longer, but I guess they were trying to make the film shorter, because I know little kids aren't going to want to sit through like a 2-hour movie. The way that they married like the Mario world and the real world was really awesome. It reminded me a lot of the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, which worked super well, but instead of it being 2 separate worlds, it was just sort of like they could go back and forth. And the way that they integrated so many of the elements from the video games, like the outfits and the power-ups and the coins and the shells and the enemies and everything, it really felt like everything just made sense and just worked super well together. Another thing that I really enjoyed were the references. I mean, obviously everybody's talking about, you know, the Mario 1, 2, 3, Mario 64 references, but the thing is, Nintendo has referenced those games so many times, especially in recent years, that they don't really hit me in the same ways. When I was really little, I was playing the older Mario games, and I was always into like the retro vintage Mario Nintendo stuff, but it was really cool to see games like Mario Galaxy and Mario Odyssey get referenced in this film. I mean, you had the Crazy Cap Shop, is that what it's called? The Crazy Cap Shop? The Upside Down Pyramids, that was awesome, and the Mario Galaxy music, oh my gosh, I don't know if they put it anywhere else in the film, but when I heard like that 10-second snippet in the credits, it really just got me in my feels, because my nostalgia for like the very old games is like so far gone, and I've studied those games inside and out, so it's cool to see games like Galaxy get referenced as sort of like a classic now, you know? It really made me want to play Mario Galaxy, and I'm actually going to play Mario Galaxy on my own, and I might stream it a little bit too, so yeah, go check out my gaming channel, that's my plug. And the last thing I wanted to talk about that I really liked was the Mario Kart references. Again, it was one of those things that like I never really thought of as being like nostalgic, but the Mario Kart Wii and the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe stuff that just gets referenced, it really hit me deep because I love those games so much, and I didn't really realize how much I liked them until I saw this movie. And I'm definitely going to go back and play them. And once again, just the way that they married the Mario Kart world with the real Mario world, with the real human world, it was just really creative and really awesome. And also just the way that everything looks so good, but can also just be destroyed at any moment was just awesome. It was really satisfying to see stuff get destroyed. It kind of reminded me of Wreck-It Ralph, the way that like, you know, the world gets deconstructed at some points, and, you know, I'll put some examples on screen and you guys will know what I'm talking about. But let's get into the bad things about this movie. There weren't many bad things, but I guess I'll start out with my complaints. First of all, why was there not Lanky Kong? They had Funky Kong, they had Diddy Kong, they had Dixie Kong, they even had Chunky Kong. Why do they not have Lanky Kong? I don't care about Tiny Kong, I care about Lanky. Another thing about Donkey Kong is that he didn't say Banana Slamma. Like, come on. Banana Slamma. I guess they're saving a lot of this stuff for future movies, and I know DK is probably going to get his own spin-off movie in the future, but come on, I want Banana Slamma. That's all I want. And really, I love the voice acting from everybody. I thought Jack Black, Anya Taylor-Joy, Charlie Day, and Seth Rogen as DK, surprisingly, I really enjoyed that. But Chris Pratt, come on. This is one thing I've seen a lot of people complain about, and it's that his Italian accent kind of comes and goes. I mean, obviously he's supposed to be from like an Italian family in Brooklyn, and all of them have Italian accents, but like Mario, it comes and goes, and it just doesn't seem very consistent or realistic. And maybe some people can explain why that is or whatever, but hearing Chris Pratt in the interviews talk about Mario and talk about the games, it doesn't sound like he has that big of a grasp on, like, you know, what it means to like the diehard fans. He said this is one of the first times that we've seen Mario without his hat. That's stupid, dude. Mario takes off his hat in Galaxy, in Odyssey, in Mario 64. Yeah, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. That was really the only definitively bad thing about this movie, but there are some things that I want to talk about in the ugly category, so let's just get into that. I do want to say that the animation looked awesome. I was a little bit worried about Mario and Luigi's design in the beginning, like in the first trailers that they dropped, but I was really surprised. I was really, like, sucked into the world. I thought they did an awesome job, just animating everything. The rainbows, the Mushroom Kingdom, Bowser, even Brooklyn, everything just looked so colorful and great without being too, like, you know, repetitive compared to the other things. Like, the fight with the dog had me a little worried because the dog looked like every other freaking Illumination animated dog, but it was really funny to see him, like, floating up and, like, swimming in the shower. I don't know if I can find a clip of that. Hopefully I can, because that was really funny. That had me laughing. I think the humor was good for the most part, but I, again, had such a problem with the Chris Pratt stuff. Like, Let's-a go, like, he just didn't, he kind of did like a faux, like, Let's-a go. I don't know. It just didn't really work for me. Maybe that's just me, but a lot of other people are having the same kind of complaints, so I don't think it's just me. Also, Illumination's, like, slow-mo. Come on. Like, just because it's a kid's movie doesn't mean you have to have a stupid slow-mo joke in there. Like, where they're like, oh, mamma mia. Like, the last negative thing I have to say about this movie is that the licensed music choices were absolutely terrible. Oh my gosh, why would you ever choose those songs? Take On Me, I was personally offended by because they didn't let the whole opening play out. And I mean, I know they have to condense it for the scene or for the movie or whatever, but the song was written a particular way. The whole beginning of Take On Me takes a bit to build up, so either don't use it or let the entire thing play out. It just felt like it was such an easy thing to pick, and they didn't really use it to its fullest extent. So annoying to me. Also, Mr. Blue Sky, I mean, come on, I like Mr. Blue Sky, but it's been used in so many movies, and it's been in Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, if your song has been in Guardians of the Galaxy, do not use it in a movie, because so many people have heard that song so many times, it's been in so many other soundtracks of so many other movies. Just do not use Guardians of the Galaxy music. They have kind of tainted those songs for the future. Also, I Need a Hero, like, why would you use that song too? It was in Footloose, it might have been in Flashdance or Dirty Dancing, I don't remember, but it was in Shrek 2 as well. Like, come on. I know they're trying to introduce these songs to, like, a newer generation, but when it's been in so many movies and so many commercials, like the freaking Lunchables commercial with the platypus and the antelope or whatever, jackrabbit, and the worst offender out of all of the licensed music was Thunderstruck. If I have to hear Thunderstruck one more time in a movie, I think I'm actually going to, like... I have heard that song so many times. I've heard it at so many football games, baseball games, just sports events as a whole, also so many movies. It is all over the internet. I have a personal grudge against AC/DC. I really don't like a lot of their popular music just because it is so basic, diluted, just formulaic rock and roll, and the fact that Thunderstruck gets played so much, just give me a break. Choose something else. Come on. These kids have already heard these songs so many times. They don't need to be introduced to the oldies or the classics. They already know these songs. They're all over TikTok, man. That's all these kids do nowadays. They just sit and swipe all over TikTok and play Roblox for 12 hours a day. But overall, I am really excited for future films. I came away from the movie, like, wanting more. I really wanted to see more. I'm super excited for a sequel, whether it involves... Oh, that's a spoiler. Don't listen. I'm gonna have to censor that out. Whether it involves Donkey Kong or Luigi or anything else that they do, I really want a Mario Galaxy sequel. Please, I just want to hear those songs once again on the big screen. Oh man, it'd be so awesome. I don't know. It is nice to see these kids get exposed to, like, the classic side of Mario. I mean, of course, Mario is like one of those cultural icons that everybody knows, but it's cool to see these little references and stuff, and these kids are going to go home and play the older games and realize how much heart went into this and how much of a culture there is surrounding retro gaming. There was even a kid sitting a few rows down from me who was emulating Mario 64 on his phone. Great job, kid. You're gonna grow up to be an awesome YouTuber who has made hundreds of videos and hasn't gotten monetized yet. But what I want to know is, when are we going to get a Zelda anime? If you want to see my thoughts on a Zelda anime, check out the video right here, and go check out my gaming channel for all sorts of retro gaming or regular gaming stuff. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.